This is part 2 of book 1 of the Aeneid, Safe Haven After Storm, continuing on line 427. Here they're dredging a harbour. There they lay foundations deep for a theatre, quarrying out of rock great columns to form a fitting scene for stages still to come. As hard as their tasks has been in early summer that work the blooming meadows under the sun, they escort a new brood out, young adults now, or press the oozing honey into the combs, the nectar brimming the bulging cells, or gather up the plunder workers haul back in, or close ranks like an army. Driving back the drones, the lazy crew from home. The hive seethes with life, exhaling the scent of honey sweet with time. "How lucky they are!" Aeneas cries, gazing up at the city's heights. "Their walls are rising now," and on he goes, cloaked in cloud, remarkable. Right in their midst he blends in with the crowds, and no one sees him. Now deep in the heart of Carthage stood a grove lavish with shade, where the Tyrians, making landfall, still shaken by wind and breakers, first unearthed that sign. Queen Juno had led their way to the fiery stallion's head that signaled power in war and ease in life for ages. Here Dido of Tyre was building Juno a mighty temple, rich with gifts and the goddess's aura of power. Bronze the threshold crowning a flight of stairs, the doorpost sheathed in bronze, and the bronze doors groaned deep on their hinges. Here in this grove a strange sight met his eyes and calmed his fears for the first time. Here for the first time Aeneas dared to hope he had found some haven, for all his hard straits to trust in better days. For awaiting the queen beneath the great temple now, exploring its features one by one, amazed at it all, the city's splendor, the work of rival workers' hands, and the vast scale of their labors. All at once he sees, spread out from first to last, the battles fought at Troy, the fame of the Trojan War now known throughout the world. Atreus' sons and Priam, Achilles savage to both at once. Aeneas came to a halt and wept. "Oh, Actas," he cried, "is there anyone, any place on earth not filled with our ordeals? There's Priam, look, even here merit will have its true reward. Even here the world is a world of tears, and the burdens of mortality touch the heart. Dismiss your fears, trust me, this fame of ours will offer us some haven." So Aeneas says, feeding his spirit on empty, lifeless pictures, groaning low, the tears riveting down his face as he sees once more the fighters circling Troy. Here Greeks in flight, routed by Troy's young ranks, these Trojans routed by plumed Achilles in his chariot. Just in range are the snow-white canvas tents of Oresus. He knows them at once and sobs. Oresus's men betrayed in their first slumber, droves of them slaughtered by Diomedes, splattered with their blood, lashing back to the Greek camp their high-strung teams before they could ever savor the grass of Troy or drink at Xanthus' banks. Next Aeneas sees Troilus in flight, his weapons flung aside. Unlucky boy, no match for Achilles' onslaught. Horses haul him on, tangled behind an empty war car, flat on his back, clinging still to the reins, his neck and hair dragging along the ground, the butt of his javelin scrawling zigzags in the dust. And here the Trojan women are moving towards the temple of Pallas, their deadly foe, their hair unbound as they bear the robe, their offering, suppliants grieving, palms beating their breasts. But Pallas turns away, staring at the ground. And Hector, 3 times Achilles has hauled him round the walls of Troy, and now he's selling his lifeless body off for gold. Aeneas gives a groan. Heaving up from his depths, he sees the plundered armor, the car, the corpse of his great friend, and Priam reaching out with helpless hands. He even sees himself swept up in the melee, clashing with the Greek captains, and sees the troops of the dawn and swarthy Memnon's arms, and Penthesileia leading her Amazons bearing half-moon shields. She blazes with battle fury out in front of her army, cinching a golden breastband under her bared breast, a girl, a warrior queen who dares to battle men. And now, as Trojan Aeneas, gazing in awe at all the scenes of Troy, stood there spellbound, eyes fixed on the war alone, the queen aglow with beauty approached the temple, Dido, with massed escorts marching in her wake, like Diana urging her dancing troops along the Eurytas banks or up Mount Cynthia's ridge, as 1,000 mountain nymphs crowd in behind her, left and right, with quivers slung from her shoulder taller than any other goddesses, as she goes striding on, and silent Latona thrills with joy too deep for words. Like Dido now, striding triumphant among her people, spurring on the work of their kingdom still to come, and then by Juno's doors, beneath the vaulted dome, flanked by an honor guard beside her lofty seat, the queen assumed her throne. Here as she handed down decrees and laws to her people, sharing labors fairly, some by lot, some with her sense of justice, Aeneas suddenly sees his men approaching through the crowds. Antheus, Sergestus, gallant Cloanthus, other Trojans the black gales had battered over the seas and swept to far-flung coasts. Aeneas, Achates, both were amazed, both struck with joy and fear. They yearned to grasp their companions' hands in haste, but both men are unnerved by the mystery of it all. So, cloaked in folds of mist, they hide their feelings, waiting, hoping to see what luck their friends have found. Where have they left their ships? What coast? Why have they come? These picked men, still marching in from the whole armada, press towards the temples amidst the rising din, to plead for some goodwill. Once they have entered, allowed to appeal before the queen, the eldest, Prince Ilonius, calm, composed, spoke out. Your Majesty, empowered by Jove to found your new city here and curb rebellious tribes with your sense of justice, we poor Trojans, castaways, tossed by storms over all the seas, we beg you, keep the cursed fire from our ships. Pity us, God-fearing men. Look on us kindly. See the state we are in. We have not come to put your Libyan gods and homes to the sword, loot them and haul our plunder towards the beach. No, such pride, such violence has no place in the hearts of beaten men. There is a country, the Greeks call it Hespera, land in the west, an ancient land, mighty in war and rich in soil. Oenthretan settled it. Now we hear their descendants call their kingdom Italy, after their leader, Italus. Italy bound we were when, surging with sudden breakers, stormy Orion drove us against blind shoals, and from the south came vicious gales to scatter us. whelmed by the sea across the murderous surf and rocky barrier reefs. We few escaped and floated toward your coast. What kind of men are these? What land is this that you can tolerate such barbaric ways? We are denied the sailor's right to shore, attacked, forbidden even a footing on your beach. If you have no use for humankind and mortal armor, at least respect the gods. They know right from wrong. They don't forget. We once had a king, Aeneas, none more just, none more devoted to duty, none more brave in arms. If fate had saved that man, if he still draws strength from the air we breathe, if he's not laid low, not yet with the heartless shades, fear not, nor will you once regret the first step you take to compete with him in kindness. We have cities too in the land of Sicily, arms and a king, Aeneas, born of Trojan blood. Permit us to haul our storm-racked ships ashore, trim new oars, hew timbers out of your woods, so that if we are fated to sail for Italy, king and crews restored, to Italy, to Latinum, we shall sail with buoyant hearts. But if we have lost our haven there, if Libyan waters hold you now, my captain, best of the men of Troy, and all our hopes for Ilius have been dashed, at least we can cross back over Sicilian seas, the straits we came from, homes ready and waiting, and seek out great Aeneas for our king. So Aeneas closed, and with one accord the Trojans murmured yes. Her eyes lowered. Dido replies with a few choice words of welcome. Cast fear to the winds, Trojans, free your minds. Our kingdom is new. Our hard straits have forced me to set defenses, station guards along our far frontiers. Who has not heard of Aeneas' people, his city, Troy, her men, her heroes, the flames of that horrendous war? We are not so dull of mind, we Carthaginians here. When he yokes his team, the sun shines down on us as well. Whatever you choose, great Hespera, Saturn's fields, or the shores of Eryx with Acestus as your king, I will provide safe passage, escorts, and support to speed you on your way. Or would you rather settle here in my realm, on equal terms with me? This city I built. It is yours. Haul ships to the shore, Trojans, Tyrians, they will all be the same to me. If only the storm that drove your king, and Aeneas were here now. Indeed, I'll send out trusty men to scour the coast of Libya far and wide. Perhaps he's shipwrecked, lost in the woods, or one of our towns. Spirits lifting at Dido's welcome, brave Acestus and Captain Aeneas had long chafed to break free of the mist, and now Achates spurs Aeneas on. Son of Venus, what feelings are rising in you now? You see the coast is clear, our ships and friends restored. Just one is lost. We saw him drown at sea ourselves. All else is just as your mother promised. He barely ended when all at once the mist around them parted, melting into the open air, and there Aeneas stood, clear in the light of day, his head, his shoulders. The man was like a god. His own mother had breathed her beauty on her son, a gloss on his flowing hair, and the ruddy glow of youth. Such radiant joy shone in his eyes. His beauty, fine as a craftsman's hand can add to ivory, or a glow as silver or Parian marble, ringed in glinting gold. Suddenly, surprising all, he tells the queen, "Here I am before you, the man you are looking for. Aeneas the Trojan, plucked from Libya's heavy seas. You alone have pitied the long ordeals of Troy, unspeakable, and here you would share your city and your home with us, this remnant left by the Greeks. We who have drunk deep of each and every disaster land and sea can offer. Stripped of everything, now it's past our power to reward you gift for gift, Dido. Theirs as well. Whoever may survive of the Dardan people still strewn over the wide world now, but may the gods, if there are powers who still respect the good and true, if justice still exists on the face of the earth, may they in their own sense of right and wrong bring you your just rewards. What age has been so blessed to give you birth? What noble parents produce so fine a daughter? So long as rivers run into the sea, so long as shadows travel the mountain slopes, and the stars range the skies, with your honor, your name, your praise will live forever, whatever lands may call me to their shores." With that he extends his right hand towards his friend Ilioneus, greeting Serestus with his left, and then the others, gallant Gaius, gallant Cloanthus. Tyrian Dido marveled, first at the sight of him, next at all he'd suffered. Then she said aloud, "Born of a goddess, even so, what destiny hunts you down through such ordeals? What violence lands you on this frightful coast? Are you that Aeneas whom loving Venus bore to Dardan Anses on the Simois' bank at Troy? Well, I remember. Teucer came to Sidon once, banished from native ground, searching for new realms, and my father Belus helped him. Belus had sacked Cyprus, plundered that rich island, ruled with a victor's hand. From that day on I have known of Troy's disaster, known your name and all the kings of Greece. Teucer, your enemy, often sang Troy's praises, claiming his own descent from Teucer's ancient stock. So come, young soldiers, welcome to our house. My destiny, harrying me with trials hard as yours, led me as well at last to anchor in this land. Schooled in suffering, now I learn to comfort those who suffer too." With that greeting she leads Aeneas into the royal halls, announcing offerings in the gods' high temple as she goes, not forgetting to send his shipmates on the beaches 20 bulls and 100 huge bristling razorbacks and 100 fatted lambs, together with their mothers, gifts to make this day a day of joy. Within the palace all is decked with adornments, lavish regal splendor. In the central hall they are setting out a banquet, draping the gorgeous purple intricately worked, heaping the board with grand displays of silver, and the gold engraved with her father's valiant deeds. A long, unending series of captains and commands traced through a line of heroes since her country's birth. Aeneas, a father's love, who would give the man no rest, quickly sends Acactus down to the ships to take the news to Ascanius, bring him back to Carthage. All his parental care is focused on his son. He tells Achates to fetch some gifts as well, plucked from the ruins of Troy, a gown stiff with figures stitched in gold, and a woven veil with yellow sprays of acanthus round the border. Helen's glory, gifts she carried out of Mycenae, fleeing Argos for Troy to seal her wicked marriage, the marvelous handiwork of Helen's mother, Leda. Aeneas adds the scepter Elone used to bear, the eldest daughters of Priam, a necklace too, strung with pearls, and a crown of double bands, one studded with gems, the other gold. Achates, following orders, hurries towards the ships. But now Venus is mulling over some new schemes, new intrigues. Altered in face and figure, Cupid would go in place of the captivating Ascanius, using his gifts to fire the queen to madness, weaving a lover's ardor through her bones. No doubt Venus fears that treacherous horse, and the Tyrians' forked tongues, and brutal Juno inflames her anguish too, and her cares keep coming back as the night draws on. So Venus makes an appeal to Love, her winged son. You, my son, are my strength, my greatest power. You alone, my son, can scoff at the lightning bolts the high and mighty father hurled against Typhus. Help me, I beg of you. I need all your immortal force. I need all your immortal force. Your brother Aeneas is tossed round every coast on earth, thanks to Juno's ruthless hatred. As you well know, and time again you've grieved to see my grief. But now Phoenician Dido has him in her clutches, holding him back with the smooth, seductive words, and I fear the outcome of Juno's welcome here. She won't sit tight while fate is turning on its hinge. So I plan to forestall her with ruses of my own, and besiege the queen with flames, and no goddess will change her mood. She's mine, my ally in arms, and my great love for Aeneas. Now how can you go about this? Hear my plan. His dear father has just sent for the young prince. He means the world to me, and he's bound for Carthage now, bearing presents saved from the sea, the flames of Troy. I'll lull him into a deep sleep, and hide him far away on Cythera's heights or high Iliadum, my shrines, so he cannot learn of my trap or spring it open while it's been set. And you, with your cunning, forge his appearance just one night, no more. Put on the familiar features of the boy that you are, so when wine flows free at the royal board, and Dido, lost in joy, cradles you in her lap, caressing, kissing you gently, you can breathe your secret fire in her, poison the queen, and she will never know. Cupid leaps at once to his loving mother's orders. Shedding his wings, he masquerades as Ilias, prancing with his stride. But now Venus distills a deep, soothing sleep onto Ilias's limbs, and warming him in her breast, the goddess spirits him off to her high Idyllian grove, where beds of marjoram breathe and embrace him with aromatic flowers and rustling shade. Now Cupid is on the move, under her orders, bringing the Tyrians royal gifts, his spirits high as Achates leads him on. Arriving, he finds the queen already poised on a golden throne beneath her sumptuous hangings, commanding the very center of her palace. Now Aeneas, the good captain, enters, then the Trojan soldiers, taking their seats on couches draped in purple. Servants pour them water to rinse their hands, quickly serving them bread from baskets, spreading their laps with linens, napkins clipped and smooth. In the kitchens are 50 serving maids, assigned to lay out foods in a long line, course by course, and honor the household gods by building fires high. 100 other maids and 100 men, all matched in age, are spreading the feast on trestles, setting out the cups, and Tyrians join them, bustling through the doors, filling the hall with joy, to take invited seats on broached couches. They admire Aeneas's gifts, admire Ilius now, the glowing face of the gold and the gods the glowing face of the god and the gods' dissembling words, and Helen's gown, and the veil adorned with a yellow acanthus border. But above all, tragic Dido, doomed to a plague about to strike, cannot feast her eyes enough, thrilled both by the boy and the gifts he brings, and the more she looks, the more the fire grows. But once he's embraced, Aeneas clung to his neck to state the deep love of his father, deluded father. Cupid makes for the queen. Her gaze, her whole heart is riveted on him now, and at times she even warms him snugly in her breast. For how can she know, poor Dido, what a mighty god is sinking into her, to her grief? But he, recalling the wishes of his mother Venus, blots out the memory of Psycheus bit by bit, trying to seize with the fresh living love a heart at rest for so long, numb to passion. Then, with the first lull in the feast, the tables cleared away. They set out massive bowls and crowned the wine with wreaths. A vast din swells in the place, voices reverberating through the echoing halls. They light the lamps, hung from the coffered ceiling, sheathed in gilt, and blazing torches burn the night away. The queen calls for a heavy golden bowl, studded with jewels and brimmed with unmixed wine. The queen calls for a heavy golden bowl, studded with jewels and brimmed with unmixed wine, the bowl that Belus and all of Belus' sons had brimmed, and the hall falls hushed as Dido lifts a prayer. Jupiter, you, they say, are the god who grants the laws of host and guest. May this day be one of joy for Tyrians here and exiles come from Troy, a day our sons will long remember. Bacchus, giver of bliss, and Juno, generous Juno, bless us now, and come, my people, celebrate with all good will this feast that makes us one. With that prayer, she poured a libation to the gods, tipping wine on the board, and tipping it, she was first to take the bowl, brushing it lightly with her lips, then gave it to Bitias, laughing, goading him on, and he took the plunge, draining the foaming bowl, drenching himself in its brimming, overflowing gold, and the other princes drank in turn. Then Iopas, long-haired bard, strikes up his golden lyre, resounding through the halls. Giant Atlas had been his teacher once, and now he sings the wandering moon and labored sun eclipsed, the roots of the human race and the wild beasts, the source of storms and the lightning bolts on high, Arcturus, the rainy Hades, and the great and little bears, and why the winter suns so rush to bathe themselves in the sea, and what slows down the nights to a long lingering crawl. And time again the Tyrians burst into applause, and the Trojans took their lead. So Dido, doomed, was lengthening out the night by trading tales as she drank long draughts of love, asking Aeneas question on question, now about Priam, now Hector. What armor Memnon, son of the morning, wore at Troy? How swift were the horses of Diomedes? How strong was Achilles? Wait, come, my guest, she urges. Tell us your own story, start to finish. The ambush laid by the Greeks, the pain of your people suffered, the wanderings you have faced. For now is the seventh slumber that has borne you wandering all the lands and the seas on earth. And that concludes Book 1 of the Aeneid. Safe haven after storm.